Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President, International Public Sector, Amazon Web Services, Max Peterson.
Hello, good morning. Yep, there we go. Okay, I got a microphone going. How's everybody today? Yeah, oh, not enough coffee yet. Okay. I'll try and go easy on you then this morning. Thank you very much for coming. We've got an exciting information-packed day today. One of our Amazon leadership principles is learn and be curious. And over the course of these next 2 days, I hope you get a great opportunity to talk to people, to listen to customers, to go and see our partners down in the Partner Pavilion, and just soak up as much as you can about AWS and how we can help you with your journey to the cloud. Today, here, we've got over 500 attendees. In the Partner Pavilion on the first floor, over 100 partner exhibitors. I encourage you to go down there. Our Intel sponsor and our VMware sponsor are down there with a lot of information. Super excited for our customers because now they've got the ability to use VMware's cloud on AWS out of our London region, which was just announced. And so I have a really short session. I get to just welcome you and then introduce Chris Heyman. Chris Heyman leads our public sector business here in the UK and Ireland. Chris?
So good morning, everyone. Well, it's great to have you all here today. This is absolutely our most favorite time of the year, where we can bring so many of our public sector customers and partners together in one place. So we're delighted you could be here. Thank you very much for attending. As Max said, we've got a lot on today. And so whether you're completely new to cloud and you're just dipping your toes in the water, or maybe you're already running a significant number of production workloads, we think there's going to be a lot of course content here for you over the course of the day. We're going to be diving into things like GDPR, migration to the cloud, but also things like cloud governance at scale. Furthermore, you're going to be hearing from a number of public sector customers who are on varying stages of their cloud adoption journey. So let's get straight into it. So what I want to kick off by talking about is a little bit about builders. So people who like to invent and solve problems, people who have the ability to turn dreams into reality. In today's world, builders are not just confined to engineers and developers. They're the marketeers, they're the leadership, they're the commercial people. There's people like you who ultimately want to innovate and iterate at pace, to transform your organizations and to move quickly. And I'm constantly amazed and inspired by all the builders that I meet across the UK public sector, their desire and their passion and what they're able to achieve on AWS. And so it's probably no surprise that our customer base is growing. We have millions of customers, active customers, and what we mean by an active customer is a non-Amazon entity that's used the AWS platform in the last 30 days, and across all areas, so whether that be startups or enterprises. And closer to home, in the UK, we have over 100,000 customers, supported by over 100 partners, and many of those partners are here today, and so you can go and speak to them in the exhibition space. We've provided over 1,300 individual training days for our customers, focused on cloud, from everything from architecting to DevOps to technical essentials. And these customers are recognizing some of the benefits of AWS and some of the services and innovation that's happening, which I'll come on to a little bit. But one which is deployed geographically across the world. So we now have 18 what we call regions across the globe, and 54 availability zones, which is ever increasing. And so for all of those of you that aren't familiar, a region for us is, think of it as a compliance zone. If you store your data in a specific region, it won't leave there unless you choose to do so. And then within each region, we have multiple availability zones. And availability zones have their own risk compliance regime. And an availability zone has at least one-to-many physical data centers. Here in EMEA, we now have four regions that have launched. So we have our Dublin region, our London region, our Frankfurt region, and our Paris region. And we've also pre-announced both our Stockholm and Bahrain region. In the UK and Ireland, we have our long-standing Dublin region, and obviously very excited about the launch of our London region, which happened in December 2016. 6 availability zones across both of those regions. And in fact, London actually launched with 2 availability zones. But we heard from our customers that they would really benefit from the 3rd availability zone. So we launched that 3rd availability zone in London at the beginning of the year in January 2018. At the heart of the London region was we heard from customers that they had workloads with data sovereignty requirements that they wanted to have on UK shores. But we also had commercial customers and financial services customers who wanted low latency access to an AWS capability. And hence, the London region was born. So we're expanding our services and features at a rapid clip. And in fact, in 2017, we launched over 1,400 services and new features alone. And these sort of features and capabilities are ready and available for our public sector customers to use in order to drive their mission forward. And the barrier to entry to these types of services and features is extremely low. It's really simple to get up and running and to start experimenting. And we see customers from across the spectrum benefiting from this pace of innovation, because fundamentally it creates a set of unique advantages. But it's advantages that quickly become the new normal. So customers and developers and builders will start expecting this type of functionality. They'll start expecting to be able to use things like artificial intelligence, start expecting to be able to use GPUs or FPGAs. So it becomes the new normal. But it's not just the features and functionality. It's the set of freedoms that you get from this type of capability. So if you think about freedoms, you think about things like serverless computing with Lambda, or our newly announced serverless databases with serverless Aurora that we announced to reInvent late last year. So you're not only unshackled from the physical infrastructure, but you don't even need to worry about the virtual compute infrastructure either. You can just consume, you can run functions, or you can consume databases and pay for what you use. So you become free to use this type of capability, unshackled from physical infrastructure, but also from old guard technology providers, ultimately allowing you to reduce your technical debt and thrive. So a couple of examples of customers that are using this type of technology. In our Brussels summit recently, we had a company called Skin Vision, and they talked about a platform they built. And ultimately, 1 in 5 people will get skin cancer in their lifetime. And they built a platform that enables you to take a photo. It's an app you can download, take a photo of skin abnormality, and upload it to the cloud. And it uses machine learning to make predictions on whether that is something that should be high risk and you should go and see a dermatology professional, or something that you don't need to worry about so much. And so cloud has really changed their ability to deliver this type of functionality. And it takes away a lot of the heavy lifting around things that may or may not be a problem. Another area that we're hearing a lot about at the moment is around voice technology. And this is especially, prevalent in local government, and Tricia will come onto some of this later on, but also in healthcare, and this is aligned with the recent NHS cloud guidance. And it's using things like Alexa to be able to provide population-wide education. And so we had organisations like Public Health England who have been able to create Alexa skills, and one of those Alexa skills is for new mothers, called My Breastfeeding Friend. So voice is becoming really, really important. And so with that in mind, I'm delighted to welcome on the stage Chief Digital Officer for NHS Business Services Authority, Darren Curry, to talk about their experience and journey to the cloud.
Thank you. We're going to talk about how we used Amazon Connect in our call center, specifically for our European Health Insurance Card service. Click on just a little bit about who the NHS Business Services Authority are. Not a lot of people may have heard of us as an organisation, but most people will have used one of our services at some point. So we have 3 main service streams: primary care services, which is made up of our prescription services elements, NHS dental services, and scanning services. So we process 30 million prescription forms every month, and pay pharmacists. So each year we deal with £9 billion worth of drug money. NHS work, not illegal drugs, legal drugs. NHS workforce services, so the NHS pension scheme we deal with, it's the largest pension scheme in Europe. And in the centre there, the area where I'm going to talk about is citizen services. So they're all of our public-facing services that people access. And specifically, they're the European Health Insurance Card. So there's currently 26 million European health insurance cards out there in the population that we issue. So it's when you go abroad. And our contact centre services deal with contact around that. So in the contact centre, just to give a sense of scale, we have 450 contact centre operators who deal with just short of 5 million contacts per year, based in Newcastle, if you didn't tell. Of that, we do have a level of voice automation currently on that platform, which deals with around about 300,000 calls. That is a non-intelligent voice automation, so it takes words and populates forms in the back end to process application forms. We have 2.5 million hits to our website each year on frequently asked questions. And one of the challenges, ironically, that we had is we have a really low complaint rate. So the services we deliver are really well received with our user group. And we have a year-on-year increase. So over the last 3 years, we've seen contacts to our contact centre increase by 25%, which is about 1 million contacts. So we've grown quite a lot. We also need to scale our services. So we offer services at an instant requirement of people like Public Health England if there's something going on in the wider NHS service. Why we choose to use AWS Connect. So number one, user experience. That's why we went with Connect. We wanted to provide a seamless experience for our users, where users could access the service at a time which is convenient to them. So our current call center operates a fairly traditional time frame of 8 in the morning until about 6 in the evening, and some Saturday working as well for some services, but not 24/7. And those times are kind of not ideal for our user needs now. People want to be able to access the services at a time which is suitable to those individuals. We wanted to enable our contact center operators to be able to deal with the users that required more support. So taking them off task for dealing with relatively straightforward queries. So the European Health Insurance Card is a really good example. We get a lot of quick queries of people phoning and asking, can I use a European Health Insurance Card in France? Can I use it in Germany? They're very simple yes, no answers, but contacting the contact centers, taking that operator off service where they could be helping someone with assisted digital needs or more complex queries in our pension service, for example. And we needed to be scalable. So again, European Health Insurance Card's a really good example of this. So over the summer months, it spikes massively. So, or if someone like Martin Lewis decides to remind everybody that they need a European Health Insurance Card to go abroad, we get a massive spike in our call centres. And so we need to be able to grow the platform quickly to deal with that. And then finally, obviously, cost savings. So we're on traditional on-premise infrastructure. It's not efficient to have that kind of scale of infrastructure to deal with the calls. What we set out to do, kind of iterative, we looked and took the approach to fail fast. So we wanted to implement something quickly, see if it worked, and if it didn't work, just kind of let it go. If it did work, we moved forward with it. So set an objective, prototyping, moved into public trial quite quickly, increased the scope, we went to 24/7 operating, and then concluded the POC. But this is probably the bit that people are most interested in. What were the results of doing this? And the bit that I was most impressed in was 2 weeks. 2 weeks build time. From initial call with our cloud brokerage partners, so Arcus Global, who we worked with on this piece of work, and the AWS team, we spent 2 weeks building. And that wasn't really us doing much building, that was the call center management team. They worked with the technical team. We allocated 2 individuals who knew the European Health Insurance Code, so these were business users, to talk about what the types of queries are. We implemented, after 2 weeks, an initial proof of concept, and then we had the service operational for three weeks and went 24/7 for the last 5 days. But was it successful? So over that time, so we did pick a time when European health insurance wasn't kind of on everyone's radar. It was round about November time, so it wasn't huge numbers. But these numbers are scalable across the year. They would work. So we received just short of 11,000 calls over the 3 weeks. And of that, 4,300 calls were fully resolved by the Lex service. That's a 40% success rate on that. So that's 2 weeks of work to get a 40% reduction in call volume or 40% customer satisfaction. So it was very successful from our point of view. 5,000 calls were transferred to operators. That's not that Lex didn't provide information. So Lex did provide some information on that, but we didn't integrate with back-end services. So it still dropped out to an operator to complete the end of that transaction. And of it, only 663 calls dropped out from Lex. So of 10,000 calls, well, 11,000, 663 dropped out. So it's a really successful trial for us. Kind of to do that in the old way would have taken probably 4 to 6 months. So in 2 weeks, and week 1 we got 38%. So it was, we got a really high percentage of the 40 within 1 week of the service going live. Over 75% of the calls were handled within 6 minutes. The contact center seen a 26% reduction to operators, so that was enabling those guys to deal with the more important calls. And Lex answered on average 3.8 questions. So a question of, can I use it in France? How do I apply is kind of follow-up, so 4 questions. What next? We're planning to roll it out. Planning to move forward with this. We've seen really good success, and we're planning to go 24/7 contact center in our services. All in all, really successful. Thank you. Thank you to Arcus Global and Tim Lancaster and Richard Miller who helped with this in AWS.
Well, thank you, Darren. That's really impressive results in such a short period of time. So absolutely fantastic. So now I'd like to introduce Director of Worldwide Public Sector Marketing, Tricia Davis-Muffet.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to see you here. This is not my first time at the London Summit. In fact, I was here the first time we had a public sector track several years ago, and it was a very tiny little room, so I'm excited to see all of you here. And I'm very excited about the incredible innovations that I'm seeing come out of public sector customers across the UK and Europe. So today I want to talk a little bit about our group of companies that we're working with who are helping us to innovate. So this technology revolution, which we really see as the largest technology shift of our lifetimes, is not just about Amazon and what AWS is doing. This is about the broader set of customers and partners who are helping to make change for our public sector customers. So we have built the AWS Partner Network, which has tens of thousands of APN partners from across the globe, and we are adding more all the time. And if any of you are not partners or you're from a company that's considering partnering with us, it really is quite easy to become a partner. We welcome new partners all the time into that network. So I encourage you to take that step if you are considering becoming a partner. We now have 160 public sector partners across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And that includes both consulting partners and technical partners who have proven expertise across industries like government, education, and healthcare and nonprofits. And we know that this is especially important in the public sector because we know that developers and builders are at a premium in schools, in agencies, in nonprofit organizations. So you may not have the people on staff to help actually get the application built that you need. So we're very cognizant of the fact that we rely on these partners, these independent software vendors, to actually build solutions that will work for the public sector. So the breadth of our partner community is accelerating our customers' innovation in the cloud. And one of the things that I love about our services is that I'm sure you know about how easy it is to scale and to pay for only what you're using on storage and compute, but that's also the case for applications that you may be used to using. So in the marketplace, you can actually, with just a few clicks, access any of the applications that you're used to using in an on-premises environment. And you pay only for the licenses you're using at the time that you're using them, only for the volume of work that's happening on those technologies. And more than 160,000 active customers are using software from the AWS Marketplace. So overall, the marketplace offers more than 4,000 software listings from across 1,280 independent software vendors. So if you haven't yet taken a look at that, I do encourage you to take a look at all of the different offerings that are available through the marketplace. Okay, so in Amazon, we call ourselves customer obsessed. We try to be the most customer obsessed company on the planet. And in the public sector, we really consider ourselves citizen obsessed. We are obsessed with making things better for citizens and with helping you to make things better for your citizens. If you think about how citizens are engaging in the world just as human beings and consumers, they expect access to all the information that they need. They expect it on their mobile devices. They expect it to be easy. They expect to be able to get what they need when they need. And that's only accelerating for students, for citizens, for people who are trying to access nonprofits. The harder that you make it, the less likely it is that they will engage with you, that they'll do the things that they need to do. We know that. And so that's why we're very excited to help the public sector to really innovate and keep pace with the commercial environment. One of our earliest adopters of technology here in the UK was Transport for London. And I imagine all of you probably engaged with Transport for London on your way here today. I certainly did yesterday on my way from Heathrow. And I think that the way that they have really made information accessible to people when they need it in the right format has been a real leap forward for them. And it has helped them to manage their costs and be more efficient as they've moved forward. They've also now really innovated on making their data open and helping to provide more innovation opportunities for others who surround them. And they are managing 24 million journeys on their platform all the time. So they really are a leader in innovation in the public sector. In addition, you think, okay, well, that's a big city. How could I compete with that? We have smaller cities and local governments across the world who are really taking advantage of our innovation as well and the opportunities. Peterborough City Council is one of my favorites. They're another winner of the City on a Cloud Challenge, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. But they are using AWS as a central hub to pull together all of the feeds and all of the data that's coming in from weather stations, from smart energy meters, from sensors in people's homes and in libraries, to really try to become a leader in being a smart city. And Aylesbury Vale District Council, they originally engaged with us just to be able to scale their websites. But since then, they have adopted more advanced services, and they're now using machine learning. And something that we're seeing many local governments do is they're using Alexa to engage with their citizens so that the citizens can actually find out, When is my rubbish pickup? When, where can I go to update my driver's license? Things like that. So they're able to access those services when and where they need to. So that's another example of just really being where the citizen needs the information and when to help them access the government in a much more scalable and efficient way. So I mentioned earlier the City on a Cloud Innovation Challenge, which several of the UK customers have actually won. And that competition is open right now. This is in the 4th year of the competition, and actually one of our first winners was the London City Airport. We've had winners from across the UK and Europe. If you would like to submit a nomination, I encourage you all to do that. The competition actually closes this Friday, but it's quite simple to submit a nomination. And there are several categories. So one of the categories is if you are already using AWS and you have something interesting that you'd like to share with other local governments, you can submit for the Best Practices Award. And that really has been a great help to many of our local government customers who are in local or regional governments to help them see what's possible. So I encourage you, if you're using us already, to submit what it is that you're doing. We'd love to recognize you. Also, if you're a partner, if you're one of those independent software vendors who is actually creating software applications that are useful to local governments, there's a Partner in Innovation Award that's available for those companies. Then if you have not yet started and you have an idea and you're looking at this stuff and you're saying, gosh, I really wish I could implement that service, you can put in for the Dream Big Award. And we've had a number of cities, large and small, who have won those Dream Big Awards. And that will provide you with credits to actually make your dream a reality. And as you saw from the NHS example, that's typical of the kinds of things that we're able to do with a pilot project. It doesn't take very long to get something up and running and see if it's going to work. And then we also have a new category this year, which is the We Power Tech Award. And that is for services or innovations that will help reach underrepresented populations. So I encourage you, nonprofit organizations, educational institutions, or government entities who would like to submit for that. So, and you can win, we will be announcing our winners at the Public Sector Summit in Washington, D.C. in June, and you can win up to $50,000 US in AWS credits. Okay, so innovation. It doesn't just take companies. I talked about the companies that are helping to innovate with us, and certainly what we're doing. Chris talked about all of the innovations that we brought to market last year. But all that innovation requires people. There have to be people who know how to make use of the technology. And this is one of the big challenges that we are trying to take on right now. We have to build a pipeline of cloud talent. Without that, all of this innovation will go to waste. And the need is urgent. So the European Commission reports that more than 350,000 information, communications, and technology positions are open and not being filled across Europe, and tens of thousands of those are here in the UK. And with historically low unemployment in the UK, there are so many requirements, and this is stopping our governments, our educational institutions, our nonprofits from moving forward because they can't find the right talent. So what are we going to do about that? So we have programs that are helping to create access to cloud skills. We believe that we have a role to play in closing this skills gap, and that's why we've developed these programs. And the programs are really meant to engage people of all backgrounds. So that includes retired military and their spouses, educators, young students, women, and others who have been underrepresented in technology. And in fact, we're already seeing results. So the Restart program was really geared to helping people start a new career in technology here in the UK. And 68% have graduated to on-the-job training, and 63% have graduated to job placement from that program. We Power Tech, as I mentioned before, is a program that really is meant to help showcase women and underrepresented minorities who are succeeding in technology, but also to bring training to people who have not seen themselves as technologists in the past. The AWS Academy brings very practical cloud training into universities, and AWS Educate is a program that is meant for students. And AWS Educate is reaching even more students with cloud curriculum, and we are very happy to announce that it's now available in not only English, but also in Spanish and Portuguese. And students can choose from multiple pathways to learn cloud skills. And the training that's available online through AWS Educate, which is a free program available to anyone who is enrolled part-time, full-time, continuing education in any kind of higher education. And also, actually, now it's available to students who are 16 and above across Europe and the UK. And the pathways are meant to be very focused on actual jobs that you could do using cloud skills. So they really gear you to what do you want that career to look like? And it gives you a pathway to learn those skills, very practical training. And then students can also apply for jobs on the AWS job board. It helps them package up the projects that they do through the program and submit those in those job applications. Hundreds of thousands of students and 1,500 institutions worldwide already participate in AWS Educate. And if you know a student or a university who you could bring into the program, please, we encourage you. And we often have people say, well, what's the catch? Why are you guys doing this for free? We're doing it for free because we need these people to be trained. We need those cloud skills to be out there in the market. We recently announced that we are also committed to reaching 100,000 people across Europe with access to cloud training. So together with the programs that I just mentioned, individuals who are seeking digital skills also have access to events like Awesome Days that provide practical training for people who really want to get up to speed, in-person trainings with AWS solution architects, and access to our free digital training platform. So at reInvent last year, our training and certification team released a range of free training options that are available through our website. So if you haven't seen that yet, I do encourage you to take a look at it. So you can visit our Solutions Expo downstairs or talk to an account manager to find out how you can take advantage of these opportunities. Beyond the tech talent pipeline, we also know that, as I mentioned, those independent software vendors are a very important part of our ecosystem. But the education technology innovators are very important for the education innovations that are happening. And we know that that's a tough place to be, being a startup trying to build new solutions for education. So we are here to support those companies that are trying to build new solutions to help educators innovate. And this is a program that is a community for education technology companies. And the benefits are give them cloud credits. It also gives them customized training, a community of others who have been in this space and who are trying to succeed in the same space, technical support, and joint marketing opportunities to help them spread the word about what they're doing. Another thing that we're doing to expand in Europe and the UK is to build thought leadership and best practices throughout the region. So we recently announced at our Brussels summit last month that the AWS Institute is now available in Europe. And this is a forum where we're helping those who are leading major public sector organizations who have something they're trying to accomplish, but they have not really envisioned how technology could help. So for instance, we have mayors who in the US who are trying to solve homelessness, and they are trying to envision, what could technology have to do with that? So we're working with people who are trying to solve problems that are not immediately obvious that they could be solved through technology. And to bring them together, to talk with public sector leaders, to build policies, and to help to innovate. We held our first Europe roundtable at our Brussels summit last month on AI for leaders and democratizing access to AI. And we're excited that we'll be hosting future roundtables here in the UK. Okay, so with that, I'm very happy to introduce our next speaker. Heidi Fraser-Krauss, the Chief Information Officer from University of York, was recognized last year as CIO of the Year for Computing Women in Technology Awards. So please welcome to the stage Heidi Fraser-Krauss.
Hello, everybody. So first of all, a word of warning. If somebody from AWS says to you, "Could you take part in a panel?" say no, because that is their way in to get you to give a keynote speech. That's the technique. So just a word of warning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about AWS and how we're using cloud at the University of York. It's worth saying that we're on the beginning of the journey, that mythical journey. But I'll share with you our thoughts and experiences. But first of all, a little bit about the higher education sector. So there's been some big numbers talked about here from the NHS, 30 million prescriptions a month. We can't quite compete with that. However, in the UK, there are about 2.2 million students. And in terms of contribution to the UK economy, latest figures are around 73 billion in terms of contribution. Higher education is a big and complicated sector. So there's about 168 providers of various shapes and sizes in the UK. And we are obviously national and international. We're also highly regulated. So you may have seen in the press, we have a new regulator, the Office for Students, and they basically want, quite properly, higher education institutions to provide education that's cost effective, that is fit for purpose and of high quality standard, and then also make sure that we include everybody in that offering. So they're very, very keen that we make sure, so some of the comments that were made earlier around everybody getting involved in education. So we're actually regulated to provide that now. University of York, if I can talk a little bit about us, we're a smallish university, turnover of about 350 million. And 18,000 students. We are extremely diverse as a university, so we have people from all sorts of different backgrounds and all sorts of nationalities, so about 140 countries, we reckon, study at the university, and all sorts of socioeconomic backgrounds. Our principles of establishment were around equality and diversity, and I'm very proud to be part of that and to continue that going on. We also are something called a Russell Group University, which means we're part of an elite group of 24, and we're focused on research, and we do research on everything from plasma physics to post-war reconstruction. Again, very proud of that sort of thing. If I talk a little bit about technology, and we just have a look at the student view. So for those of you who are familiar with this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The bottom layer is physiological needs like food, shelter, and water. Students have put Wi-Fi below that one. And I have to say that from my experience of dealing with students, and my office is actually in the library in York, this is exactly right. Students depend on technology like nothing else, and I'm sure those of you who are parents will know that Wi-Fi is it. But more seriously, students depend on technology for their learning. So we use technology all the time now in delivery. And we also use it to support their learning. So I was saying about taking students in from all different backgrounds. One of the things we also have to do as far as the regulator is concerned is make sure we keep those students and ensure that they have a career out the other end. And we use technology to monitor their performance and support them along the line. For staff, obviously, we also need to provide high quality facilities, and that is a differentiator. For students, some of these things is hygiene. For staff, it's a differentiator. So if we're talking about plasma physics, the ability for me to be able to provide facilities quickly and cheaply to plasma physicists is a differentiator. Okay, so why would I be interested in the cloud? I'm sorry, this is a little bit cheesy. I wanted to say key drivers, and these were the only things I could trying to represent this in a different way. You know, you get those pictures where you're trying to guess a phrase, so this is what I was trying to do here. So what are my key drivers? So I think the first thing, I don't have a burning platform in terms of technology. I've got 2 good data centers, fairly well equipped there. However, what I believe, and it's, I think, obvious probably to everybody in this room, that cloud is a paradigm shift, that it ain't going away. You can't stick your fingers in your ears and say, no, 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 not going to happen. You have to engage with it. So we're engaging with it because we feel that we absolutely have to. We want to be on the right side of that change. And what I'm interested in is having staff who are able to engage in all the excitement. So the stuff that's just been talked about is just magical. And I want staff at the University of York, my staff, to understand the benefits and be able to make use of those facilities and technologies. I've also got to deliver a digital strategy for the university. At this moment in time, I'm not entirely sure what a digital strategy is, but I do know that the cloud will be part of it. Other services I want to be able to provide to academic staff, things like GPU, to be able to spin up a large number of GPUs in the cloud. It's very expensive for me, in fact, prohibitively expensive in time and cost to be able to do that. So I want to be able to leverage these things. And then things like serverless technology to stop us doing that grind. All of those things that you will probably be interested in your own businesses are of interest to me. But at the top, it's that move. It's that skill set and mindset change. Okay. Given that we're fairly new on this journey, what are my challenges? I think the first challenge is the skill piece, actually. It's having a way of supporting staff, encouraging them to develop into this different way of thinking. Amazon have been, so AWS have been extremely supportive on that. We've had workshops on site, but it is a real, it's one of those things that you have to keep going at and keep convincing. Some people were very threatened by this in the beginning. They're moving towards seeing what the advantages are now. So that's one challenge. Another challenge is complexity. This is really complicated stuff. It's not just something. People will tell you it's plug and play. And I know people were saying they'd set up in very short spaces of time, but there is a lot of thought needs to go into these things. And having the time to architect things, think all of that through, that complexity piece is a challenge. And I also think there's again, this plug and play idea. I think you're not going to move, vendor. You're not going to move. You're going to be locked in to some degree with these providers, given the complexity. And therefore, you need the challenges to make the right choice of partner, to decide who you want to work with, because I don't think this is going to be something that you move every year or so. Having said all of that, one more thing on challenge is price. And not as in how much it costs, but how to manage price, how to manage the complexity of the pricing. And again, AWS have been very supportive with us, but that's something where we need to learn. We've had instances where we ticked a box and our bill's gone up. And bill shock, or whatever people call it, for things like that. So that's our challenges. Having said that, we're delighted with what we've seen, and we've had great support, and we will definitely be moving cloudwards. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heidi. That's really great to hear your story. So thank you very much. Without saying it's worth talking about security. This is at the top of everyone's minds, and it's certainly at the top of ours. Security for us is job zero. But it's something that we believe is everyone's responsibility. At AWS, we have a shared responsibility model. And so what this means is that we take responsibility of the security of the cloud, and our customers take responsibility in the cloud. But actually, this is kind of really liberating. So you can make the decision on how much security you want to layer in based on the requirements of your specific workload. If you have a sensitive workload, you can layer in more and more security as you see fit. It's not a fait accompli. It's not a done deal on what you have to accept in this space. So if you have a workload that requires managed DDoS protection, use AWS Shield. If you want intelligent threat detection and continuous monitoring, you could use something like Amazon Guard Duty. Not only are there kind of features and functionality you can layer in, but there's transparency as well. So tools like CloudTrail give you ultimate transparency. It logs every single API call that happens within your AWS environment. And this is, just doing something like this on premises certainly is achievable, but could be hugely cost prohibitive. So definitely something that is empowering there. From our responsibilities side of things, we obviously work hugely hard on gaining certifications and attestations on our global infrastructure platforms that I mentioned a bit earlier. But not only that, we've listened to our customers at a local level. And so we've undertaken things like the Police Assurance Assessment, or PASF for the London region, the IG Toolkit for healthcare. And also we've heard from customers that connectivity is important to them. So we have options for connecting to the Public Services Network, to the Health Network through N3 or HSCN, and also to the Janet Education Network as well. So let's talk about data privacy. And there are a few kind of important concepts to keep in mind here. On AWS, data is always owned by the customer, and you have full control of where that data is stored. We won't move your content unless you choose to do so for whatever reason. You can also encrypt that content, and all of our storage services have the ability to encrypt content. So the content that has been encrypted is essentially rendered useless unless you have the relevant decryption keys. So speaking of privacy, it's worth obviously talking about the impending thing that's happening, which is GDPR. And AWS welcomes GDPR. It will raise the bar for data protection, security, and compliance, and it will push industry to implement stringent controls. As of March 26th, AWS, all services within AWS now comply with GDPR. And we also offer customers a data processing addendum that has been approved to meet the new GDPR requirements. So as a result, customers wishing to transfer personal data outside of an EU country can be assured that their content that is stored on AWS meets that high bar for data protection required by EU law. And I'd encourage you to have a look at our GDPR website on our Compliance Center. But also, we've got a large team here today, so please go and have a chat with our account managers and our solution architects and our security and compliance specialists that will help you. If you've got an application that needs to be GDPR compliant, they'll help you navigate some of the things that you can use. Some of the services that we provide enable you to make your application also GDPR compliant. So I'm going to finish up a little bit, and I want to talk about kind of removing barriers. So putting the right foundations in place, the right building blocks, is vital to success, from security and compliance to policy to procurement and acquisition. And we work across the world, speaking to government customers, education customers, healthcare customers across the world, helping them with some of these things, whether it's their cloud-first policies or their acquisition vehicles. And myself and my team are on hand to help you with your journey, whether you're at the very beginning of that journey or whether you're already running significant production workloads. And here to talk about some of the barriers that they faced and overcome, I'm delighted to welcome on stage Diptesh Patel, who's Deputy Director for the Department for Work and Pensions.
Thanks, Chris. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be talking here today. And it's really simply amazing to see so many public sector colleagues in the room. I've been to this event a couple of times, and we're growing and growing and growing. As I understand, there's about 800 colleagues registered today. And I think we should be proud as a community that now talking about hyperscale public cloud is standard. It's part of our technology stacks. And so I just wanted to talk about what we're doing at DWP around our hybrid cloud journey, and more importantly, what we're doing to try and accelerate, and our ambitions to accelerate adoption much further. So a bit of context on the department. Like many colleagues out here, we have an important, critical mission to deliver to citizens. We support 22 million citizens, customers to us. And that's, at some point, we will support almost everyone at some point in their lives. We have a presence on UK high streets that's comparable to many large banks. We transact over 170 billion pounds a year, 450 million pounds a day, and that's a significant amount of money. A lot of transactions. And supporting all of this, we have our technology services that underpin providing this service to citizens. That's over 90,000 desktops, 850 buildings. So it's a huge estate. We host everything ourselves using over 1,000 applications and multiple millions of lines of code. But everything we do is about improving outcomes for society. It's about reimagining customer experiences and about delivering a more efficient and effective department. And I want to talk about some of that journey today. So we have, over the last 18 months, undertaken a major technology transformation program. We started out with a 24-year-old monolithic contract, which had unsustainable cost base and low confidence due to service issues. And so with the number of applications and various heritage infrastructure, mainframes and the like, we had to make a decision. And that decision was to start to build out our own data centers, but also closely coupled with using hyperscale public cloud provision. Why not move everything across in one go? Why Lilypad? Well, we've got to re-architect and refactor our applications, and we need to work with our product teams and help and support them to understand how to do that with the right training and the right support, and also build our organization to be able to do that. Building our cloud foundations has been really important. So we're moving away from building siloed systems. We want to be able to provide integrated user experiences using microservices and RESTful APIs, integrating both data and services. A great example of that, which you may have heard about, is around universal credit, which has taken 20 loosely coupled products, and we've joined those together, hosting universal credit on AWS. Now, providing connectivity, you'd think, well, that's quite straightforward, using AWS Direct Connect. But actually, rather than just the technical benefits, it also starts to adapt some of the cultural thinking and change about, well, public cloud is an external. It's an extension of our boundary. We're starting to join up more. So we're now able to offer and operate our services at a fraction of the current cost. We're able to do that to give us more flexibility, increased delivery, and more importantly, increased control. So our goal now is really to start to enable our product teams to start to look at how they can use AWS in a safe, well-governed and secure manner. And we've done that by starting to build our landing zone. So covering basic service foundation services, that includes account provisioning, reporting and login, identity and access management, etc. And this is all really key to being able to make sure that we can move and migrate all of the new existing workloads, but also some of the new workloads we have. We get a baseline compliance for projects and product teams to be able to start to use the service. But it's not all about technical solutions. We've learned quite a lot in this journey so far, and we've got to look at working holistically across our people, processes, and culture. And that's not easy, folks, and it's hard, but we're on that journey. We've worked with AWS to start some of that training or that adaptation to the culture by providing training to over 100 architects and engineers over the last year. And that's enabled our product teams to be able to start to think about how we architect and how they're going to refactor those products to really use true cloud services. Another major area that we've learned about is how are we going to provide a sustainable run and production operation service. It's critical for the services that I outlined that we provide to citizens and the payments we make, that we can ensure that our services are always operational, with 0 production hours lost, and importantly, very secure. We've done that through talking about embedding site reliability engineering and also DevSecOps. So I talk about acceleration to enterprise scale. We've started to do the basics. We're using, for production workloads, AWS. But how do we really start to accelerate to move hundreds of applications and migrate those across our services? And we've got to some barriers, and I'd like to share some of those and some of the thinking we have around those. So culture and collaboration. So we should all be collaborating between us. The NCSE have done a tremendous job in sharing some guidance about risk-based assessment and how we should securely use cloud services. We also need to stop the thinking that cloud is simply, or public cloud is still very much different and we can't trust it. And this, as I mentioned, there's some fantastic collaboration we can do between ourselves to share our experience and what we can do to try and evolve our thinking. Bimodal operation, and this has been a tremendous learning curve for us. We're not going to all of a sudden overnight disappear with legacy or heritage estate for tens of years, or 20, 30 years plus. So we need to operate in a bimodal way. I remember a conversation with colleagues recently where we're talking about, well, how can we apply the DevOps culture to an organization maintaining live service, but also give confidence to our live service teams that we actually are doing it in a secure and safe way without compromising services. And that's going to take a lot of time, but we're starting that journey. Governance, and that's important, both internal governance but external governance as well. How we work with AWS, how do we make sure that we're using AWS to support us, to make sure we're doing the right things, but also internally, how do we manage our costs that could just simply increase and increase if we don't have the right culture or the experience to manage these services. So there's a lot of thinking to do on that. So what's next for us? We've got a tremendous amount to do, but we're doing some really innovative stuff. We're working with VMware Cloud at the moment as one of the first customers, and we're looking very excited to start to develop that. We're also looking at things like distributed ledgers. Payments are obviously very critical, as I mentioned, but we're starting to reimagine our payments by using distributed ledger technologies, so using blockchain and how we could host that on services such as AWS. So how can we use a hyperledger to make customer data breach improbable? Other areas we're looking at is around how do we accelerate our product development. So we don't stifle innovation for our DevOps teams, but we actually enable product development to reusable services so that we can help teams to accelerate quicker. So it's been an amazing journey so far, and we're looking forward to accelerating to enterprise scale. Thank you.
Diptesh, for sharing your story. Obviously, DWP is a ginormous organization and has made such a tremendous amount of progress already. Here to close out the show, I'm delighted to welcome back on stage Max Peterson. Thank you.
I tell you, I just get so excited when I listen to the different things that customers are doing, the speed, the types of services that people are delivering, whether it's healthcare or government or in educational sectors. And so I'm not going to take up a lot of time, but I do want to leave you with just a couple of thoughts. The first one is, please stick around for the whole day. We've got great sessions that are running. We have a management track and a voice of the customer track. They're right here on the same floor. You just have to go right across to those rooms after our short break. Also take advantage of the networking opportunity this evening, and during breaks and during lunch. I do encourage you, if you have a chance, drop down and see some of the things that our partners are delivering on behalf of our customers. I heard about Arcus Global, one of our consulting partners, and what they're able to help customers do. There's a tremendous number of those types of solutions, whether it's security, whether it's line of business, whether it's governance that we heard about, whether it's training and education. We have partners that represent all those different capabilities, and I encourage you to go talk to them about how they can help you with your journey. Couple more things. In Washington, D.C., we'll be holding our Worldwide Public Sector Summit. It's June 20th and 21st. I encourage everybody here, if you find this information useful and engaging, it's also wonderful, right, to share with colleagues from around the world and learn from others. It's a great summit event. You can register at the URL right down there. We've got a number of customers, again, from every line of business, from every place in the world, with tremendous learning opportunities. The second thing I want to tee up for you is AWS reInvent. Can I see a show of hands? Has anybody here been to AWS reInvent in the past? Yeah, good. It looks like maybe about 10% of the people, so we've got a lot of opportunity for 90% of the people in the room here. This is an incredible learning opportunity. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of sessions. There's certification sessions. There's networking events. It really is a tremendous opportunity if you're on your journey to the cloud, or if you're an expert and you need 300 and 400 level classes. Those can all be had at the AWS reInvent conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. And for our public sector customers who are here today, you can get discounted tickets if you use that special code. So if you're thinking about going, or maybe you know somebody who wants to go, copy down that code there, and that'll get you a discount on participation in the conference. And it was really important, so it showed it twice there. That was good. Lastly, if you want to join this community of builders to learn or to teach others, right? There's a great user group in the UK here. That's the URL for it. We encourage you to join. And with that, thanks again for coming today. I hope you learn and discover all kinds of new capabilities with us. Talk to the staff, see our partners, and have a great day. And then we'll see you back again tomorrow, hopefully, for more learning. Thank you.